Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. It's Wednesday night, and so that means it's Q&A, and of course we have a lot to talk about because of the DJI FPV drone was released. It's interesting. I did order it. I'll be doing some work with it to see, if it's worth it for you to have or buy or not, depending on what you want. I got an idea. It's, not worth it for everybody, obviously, but I think it will be worth it for some people. I'm excited to try it out. So, yeah, if you haven't been to this part, or if you haven't been on the show before, if you haven't been a part of the live stream before, then tonight's pretty much all about questions and answers. So if you have questions about videos I've done or things I've used or what camera equipment you should buy or anything like that, ask away and I'll try my best to answer them. Or people in the chat will also help answer them because we have some great people as part of this community in the channel. So, hope you're all doing well. It's a beautiful sort of spring-ish day here, and it's looking nice. Hey, Jaden. Good. Good to see you. Ben Lockwood, Bud Bieber, good to see you. B-Man FPV, how's it going? Alaska Filmer VFX, good to see you here. Shipper's Drone Field, nice. Stayed up late to the UK to listen in, nice, very nice. Hey, Fly Zone, Mark H, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Elsie, good to see you too. Jaden. Let's see. Lacey, nice to see you. Sunrise, Water Media, good to see you. Mike Farley, and all right. Smaxum, I guess. Got your 17 to 70 f2.8 finally. It's great. Good. Glad to hear it. It's a great lens. I really like it. Yeah. I really loved it when I had it. So, Miguel, good to see you too. So, you can ask questions that are not related necessarily to the drone FPV system, the DJI FPV system that they just released, but I'm going to start off by talking about that. Mine is on the way. I have no ETA here yet because it's been shipped via FedEx, and FedEx decides that whenever they're good, well, and ready to deliver something here, that's when they will deliver it. And so hopefully tomorrow, probably not tomorrow, probably Friday or Saturday, maybe. I wish they would ship it DHL because DHL is way faster to get here. Anyway, so Chris Zolinsky, Air 2. Yes, go ask me a question about the Air 2. Go ahead, Chris. Yeah, so in the meantime, the DJI FPV system, or FPV drone, I'm curious, let me know in the chat if you're planning on getting it. I'm curious to see how many of you are ordered it already or are thinking about ordering it. Yeah, I'm just very, very curious. Eddie Nunez is here. Nice. Hey. Not for you, B-Man FPV. Yeah. You ordered it already, Fly Zone? Yeah, I figured. Okay, Chris Zolitsky, you asked if I carry mine in case of bears, my Air 2. I don't have an Air 2 anymore. I sold it to a friend. And if you're asking if I have protection for bears, I do. I always have protection with me for wildlife because you're going to run into wildlife eventually up here. That's just the way it is. So, yeah. So, I mean, to me, it's obvious that if you already do FPV, if you're already like you're building your own drones, programming your own drones, like fixing your own drones, then the DJI system is not for you at all. There's no way. I ordered it, and partly because I'm going to make videos about it, and it'll probably be a highly searched topic, so that'll be good and helpful. But I do want people, I do get a lot of questions about people, because I post little clips of FPV stuff here and there. So I do want to help people make an informed decision. If you're coming from DJI drones, Autel drones, the kind of typical GPS camera drones, and you want to kind of dabble into FPV, or you want to sort of get the that smooth but fast moving flowing footage that FPV gets, as far as the kind of cinematic cruising type FPV shots, then yeah, it'll be a decent drone. For me, even though I have GPS rescue working on 2 of my FPV quads. Part of the reason I'm getting it too is I feel better about pushing the range of that than I do the ones that I have with GPS rescue set up. Not because they don't work, they do. I've tested them multiple times, and they do work. I'm curious to see how the range of the DJI FPV drone does versus the DJI FPV system with Crossfire on a drone that I built. So it'll be interesting. Mark H, apparently it does in certain modes. It does go pretty fast. I think that DJI, there's going to be a lot of them, and a lot of them are going to get wrecked early on because people are going to skip the beginning stuff and not try and learn how to do it really and jump straight to the acro stuff and think that they're going to be like some of the acro pilots that you see out there and crash quickly. And we've already seen where they're not going to hold up to too much crashes. So, but if you're looking to jump into FPV flying sort of stuff, but you really don't want to learn to build and program and tune and set up your own drones, then, it's a good way to start. I am excited because overall, I think it's going to help push the whole FPV community forward a little bit. I think some of the innovations that DJI will bring to the FPV community will help to push other manufacturers to push new innovations in their stuff as well. And I think it's going to be just a good thing overall. It's definitely not for everybody. It's all the people who've been flying FPV for years, who've built and programmed their own drones. It's not for you. It's really not. Unless you want a drone that you can send way the heck off there and have a, really good, reasonable chance of recovering it. Yeah. So I'm not super impressed by the camera on it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's as good as a GoPro or other ones that you can put on a drone. But it's fine. It'll be fine. So let's see if I miss any questions. Let's see. Elsie says DJI FPV drone, long range FPV drone, no racer, no freestyle drone. That's exactly right. It's It's a cinematic kind of cruising quad with some acro capability built in if you really want to, but it sounds like it's really heavy too, and prop wash is not handled super well. So I'm sure they'll fix some of that stuff, the tuning of it and stuff through firmware, but yeah, we'll see. Jake Allen, you're still torn on whether you should take the plunge. You feel like you can get dynamic shots with the Skydio 2. You can, Jake, you can get dynamic shots, but they don't have that like tilting kind of fly through sort of feeling to it. And that's, I think, what a lot of people are looking to get is that sort of cinematic cruising, flying through things, just a little bit different. But the Skydio gets some great dynamic footage too. Ziad asked, would I buy the 28-200 Tamron? I would if I was looking for an all-in-one lens, the lens that I basically could shoot everything with on a camera without taking it off. And I would if the only other thing I had was a really wide angle lens and I wanted a zoom lens, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money, I would get the Tamron 28-200. It's a good lens. Mike Farley, you were thinking about buying it, but you're staying with good glass. Good idea. Cinewhoops are FPV drones as well, Jaden. Now I just skipped and lost a bunch. There we go. Have a little time to fly, not enough time to build. Yeah, that's true. Like I took one of mine apart today, and I'm coating it with it's not conformal coating, but it's similar, so that I can really push it into some waterfall diving and some other like snow and other stuff, without worrying about the weather as much. I can bury it in a snow pile and pick it up, shake it off, and go fly it again. So it's all sitting up there in parts and pieces while I do this coating stuff, and yeah. Matthew Henry, you're surprised to see blades in the frame. Yeah, me too. That's very, very interesting that that's in the frame. I mean, obviously, the steeper angle up the camera goes and the faster you're going, the less chance of those blades being in the frame. But it was very much like, oh, all right then. That's interesting. B-Man says, it seems like the drone is a bit too delicate for the way you fly. Besides, it's not a freestyle drone. It's for people who fly Mavics and want more. Yep. I agree, B-Man. And that's the thing. Like the one that I'm conformal coating upstairs, it's the one that I worked on like most of my acrobatic stuff with, and setting up GPS rescue, which means it has crashed a lot and hard. Like, I mean, I was a couple 100 feet up. We're testing GPS rescue, and it was coming back, and I accidentally disarmed it, and it flipped over, it came down straight down upside down, and smashed open a battery. And yeah, it's been through some hard crashes, but it's still going. I've had to replace some stuff obviously, but the frame, everything else is still going strong. I had to replace a motor belt because I totally smashed one of those up. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's like it's a cruiser with, you could do some dives and some power loop, I guess, if you want to, but not really like aggressive acro flying for sure. Zach Morrison, one of these days you'd like to try FPV. Just turn into another expensive hobby. It will at that. It will at that. Oh, 40 or 45? Either one would go. Either one would be good. Anything less than a 40 or 10 mil in that range is not enough stopping power for a bear, but those are good. So I carry something in that range. Nunez, with United, bring attention to FPV. Hope they crash safely and not spoil the drone community. Mike Farley, that's a good point, Mike. And that's where I am. On the one sense, I'm glad to see that the DJI has, and this is going to sound weird because I hate DJI's geofencing, but I am a responsible person and I don't do stupid things. But on the other sense, I'm glad to see that the geofencing is in the FPV drone, because a drone that can move 80 something miles an hour and have that range is, yeah, the potential for problems is high, for lack of a better term. I feel like I'm overexposed. Is that better? That feels better. Let's see. Let's see. Miguel, do I like Sigma glass? So I like Sigma glass. Optically, it's nice. It really is nice. I don't like it for its size and its weight. It's typically pretty big and pretty heavy, and that's why I like the Tamron glass that I've got. It's just smaller and lighter weight, but the optics of Sigma is excellent. Their optical performance is always very top notch. Hey, Lewis, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. Cheers. Hey, Scott. Let's see. Do I have a sample picture of bokeh with the Tamron 28-200 Ziad? I do. I have quite a few sample photos that you can download from the video description. So you'd have to run over there and grab them. Lon deleted your comment. Minnesotan. Ouch. Yeah, B-Man, I came down hard. Really, and onto cement too. It wasn't like I landed in a grass field. I was in a huge parking lot. It just, yeah, it came down so hard. I'm so glad I didn't have a GoPro on it or anything like that. It was just the drone, but it was a really, really nice sounding just splat as it hit the ground. And that totaled the motor bell, a GPS unit, the battery, and a GoPro mount that was mounted on there. That was it. Well, props. Okay, I went through a couple props on that particular wreck too. And so, 10 minutes later, some soldering, and I was back in the air trying to getting GPS rescue to work, because I do have it working now. Still need to tweak it a little bit, but it's working. If I trigger it, it'll come home. And if I fail safe, it'll come home. So that's, I can't ask for more than that at this point. Like the chance of getting a drone back if something bad happens, I'm pretty happy with that, especially with some of the stuff I'm planning to do this summer with it. So not super long range stuff, but just places where if anything goes wrong, it's gonna, I won't be able to recover it. So the chance that it might fly back to me if anything does go wrong, that's great. VA is almost impossible. Oh, I can imagine, Miek. Let's see, Lacey, don't mean to change the conversation. A little bit of good photography trail here in the Anchorage area. Are you wondering where a good photography trail is here in Anchorage? Answer me that, and I'll point you in some directions. So, bit the bullet. Bought a DJI FPV newbie, so you hope you can fly it. Jim's droning. So just like take your time. Don't, just like when you bought your first drone, like go out to an open field and take your time. But in the case of the FPV drone, like do the simulator a little bit and then go out to a big open field and start in the beginning mode and just like go easy. Take your time and you'll be fine. The people that are going to crash a lot are the people that go, simulator maybe, beginner mode maybe, and then go acro mode. And like that's when I think Beeman, you might be able to answer this too. When did most of your crashes occur? Was it when you started jumping into starting to do some acro stuff? For me, most of my crashes occurred when I was like, hey, I'm going to try and do a flip, or I'm going to try and do a roll, or I'm going to try and power loop this thing. And I dramatically misjudged my skill level and capabilities of what I could do. So, oh, good, Jim Stroning. Then you'll be okay because you've already built some of the muscle memory in there. So, yeah, just take your time. I hear all that, but I can't understand what's the difference if you build a drone that flies 80 miles an hour or buy this one. There really isn't, Lon. Other than if you build it yourself, you can repair it. But I'm not sure in what context you're talking. So, unless we're talking about the conversation earlier, yeah. Mike Farley, which would I buy? And you believe you already know my answer. Sigma 24-70 DNG or 28-70 DNG DN? I mean, I would get the 24-70 if you have the budget for it because the optics are better. Plus, you have a little bit wider range on the wide end, which is really nice. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Angel says, you would love to get a new FPV drone as an old Mavic, entire Mavic line. You'd be paranoid somebody stab me or throw me off a cliff. I don't live in the safest place. Yeah, you want to live in a safe, or you want to go fly in a safe place where you can fly safely. I've noticed that a few times too, where I'll be flying and I'll hear something, and I'm always with somebody else, spotters and just friends and stuff like that. And but it's always a little unnerving when you're like, you hear something, but you can't see, because you can't turn around and look because you're in the middle of flying. It's interesting. Cool, Lon. Yeah, be fun. Do I like the pause, Mark H? I do. I think that'll save a lot of people heartache. That's for sure. My pause currently on all my FPV drones is me holding the controls and stopping and then hovering and like calming down a little bit. But the pause button on the DJI controllers, it's a pretty cool, pretty neat idea. I do like that idea from the standpoint of like if I'm flying, or if I'm waiting, like the last big FPV shoot I did, I would take off and then have to hover for a minute to a minute and a half waiting to be for the ready. It would have been nice to be able to flip it into hover mode and have it hold its position, its altitude perfectly, and then flip it out and do what I needed to do. It's not currently an option on the firmware I use, but I mean, if you can hover, you can hover. It's not too bad. It just takes a little more effort. Let's see, David, film a lot of boating stuff. Is there a drone that will return to me or the controller? So the Mavic 2 Pro, the Mavic 2 line will do that. The Skydio will do that as well. And it's in the settings. You have to set it where you want it to return to the controller, not to the home point or the takeoff point. And but yeah, either one of those would do it. So yeah. That was David Kusada. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm terrible with names. Did you get it already, Lon, or are you waiting? I'm curious. LC refresh does not cover accents if you fly in manual acro mode. Right. Yes, but I think there's an option to get that covered too. It's just more expensive, but I haven't looked. You may be right on that. Andre? Hey, Alex? You're gluing one finger on the pause button? That's a good idea, Jim. Hey, Diana. Let's see. Z6II versus GH5. Which one would I buy today? Ooh, man. I would go with the Nikon Z6II because it's full frame, better low light performance, usable autofocus, for sure. And Nikon has nice colors out of camera. The GH5, you had to work a little bit harder to get the photos to look decent. Mick asks, which camera am I using for this? Is the A7S3 and the Sony G Master 24 1.4 lens. I also have my roving slider camera, which is the Blackmagic 4K with a Sirui anamorphic on it because it's the only lens I have for it. No, I have two. I have a little tiny super wide angle one for when I put it on my big FPV drone. So Lon, way back in the day, you hated goggles. You might have one for sale cheap. Lon. You might. Hey, Review. Nice to see you. Lon, you're first in line. Sunrise. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jim, you'll have a big difference from analog goggles to the DJI goggles. So, yeah. Review, my lights are the same as what they were like years ago. I'm using a Godox SL6DW with a big softbox. And then I'm using a Falcon Eyes LED strip light box with a softbox over there. And then a whole bunch of RGB LED lights back there because it looks cool. Although I'm thinking about changing it up. I might go more of like a kind of just static, normal colors sort of thing instead of doing all the crazy RGB stuff. Yeah. Mike, are all my commercial shoots for your clients drone footage? No, I do tons of stuff. I've been fortunate to have been hired for doing drone footage for Caterpillar, the company Caterpillar, a couple of times, and I've done some other stuff too. I love doing drone footage, but it's really, actually, in my commercial stuff, drone footage is a small portion of what I do. Most of my stuff is very like corporate type videos and photography stuff. So, yeah, promotional videos for corporate stuff, little, educational videos and things like that. Let's see. Mavic goggles is good. That's good. Let's see. Ben Lockwood, how do I like that 0 to 60 in 2 seconds? That's pretty cool. I mean, that's, I think, probably about what my FPV drones do, depending on the configuration and propellers I have on them. I do know that my big FPV drone that I put this camera on, Blackmagic Pocket 4K on it, or the red Komodo that I've flown on it, it'll do 99.9 because, going over 100 would break FAA rules, but it will do 99 miles an hour, which is fast, and you run out of space real quick at that speed. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's see. Buy the Godox light. This one, you heard it has some fan noise issues. Is it manageable? Yeah, I mean, there's the fan in there now. This is not one that I replaced the fan, so it's not a big deal. I mean, unless you're sitting like right next to the light on the backside or something, it's fine. Would I rather use a drone at a DJ concert or use it at a Comic-Con? I wouldn't want to use one inside. Well, that's not true. I mean, I've used them inside a lot, but it's always been very highly coordinated and carefully crafted. Probably DJ concert, really. I think that would be more fun. Depending on the drone, depending on the concert. So, Jim, I have one on order. It's coming whenever FedEx decides that they feel like delivering it to my house, which is, who knows. Smack some. You're just going to get a Mini 2 for my very first drone. You don't need a license here in Alberta for it. Yeah, and that's the great thing about the Mini 2 is you don't have to go through a lot of the extra process of registering and more the larger drones, which is nice. Now, here in the US, if you use the Mini 2 for commercial work, which I have, you still have to register it as a commercial aircraft, and you still need a Part 107. But it is nice. If you're not doing that sort of stuff, you can just do it and have fun with it. I just realized why my black magic angle looks so different. So, now I can't get back to chat. Okay, there we go. Hey, Bob Casey. Welcome. Mark H. How's the mail service up here at Anchorage? Mark H., generally the mail service is solid. Like if you send something priority mail, I almost always have it in 3 days, which is fantastic and by far my preferred way of shipping. Now, international stuff, DHL does a really great job. FedEx, for whatever reason, is really difficult sometimes. Like if a company is going to send me a lens, it always gets hung up in customs. If it's like not a like US based lens company, but like a lens company from somewhere else in the world, if they're going to send me a lens and it comes into US customs, FedEx freezes everything because they think it's like eyeglasses or something like that. And I have to call, I have to wait for them to call me, which takes a day or two. And then I have to call, talk to them and explain to them what it is. And then they can release it and all that. And I don't understand. I don't have that trouble with any other company, but FedEx, I really do. So, what do I think about the new, I'm excited about it review. It's kind of what we've been talking about most of the time here so far. Diana, you're really curious if drone owners will be limited by the government if they have government contracts to use non-DJI products and US-made products only. So far, that is not the government stipulations is limited to government agencies only. It doesn't extend to private contractors, but that could change anytime. And obviously, it probably, depending on the job, like it might help you or not help you get a job, depending on what you have. So it definitely has helped the company Skydio a lot. They hit their $1 billion valuation, which is pretty impressive. So Ben Lockwood, you shot some footage with the you edit videos or get anything so pricey. Looked at the website for music, but out of your price range. Oh, Ben, look at the YouTube library. If you're going to post it on YouTube, look at the YouTube library. It's free, and there's some decent stuff in there. Thanks, Bob Casey. Liam, but step out of Anchorage. Oh, speaking of which, somebody asked me about a trail. Where was that? That was way back up here. Okay, who asked me about the trail? I'm so sorry. I saw you asked, like, as I asked you to specify something, you specified it, and I never answered your question. Very sorry about that. Andre asked, what camera lens do I think? Camera doesn't matter, but lens for close-up and far-away pictures. Some of the Tamrons have really good close focusing distance. Look there. Was it Lacey? Were you the one who asked me about the trail? Oh yeah, it was you, Lacey. Okay, good moderate trail. I like going up to, hey, Flight Path, Aldrin, good to see you. Thank you, Mark H, for the super chat. And yeah, kudos to the Postal Service. They do a good job up here. Even if they have to do it by dog sled sometimes. I'm kidding. I don't think they ever have to do that, but they might. I don't know. Anyway, so Lacey, I like going up to the Powerline Trail and going back to Powerline Pass back in there up by Flat Top area is a nice area. You can go up there to Hidden Lake, which is pretty and nice and maybe a little less trafficked. And you can also go back up there to Rabbit Lake, but you don't go up to the usual flat top parking lot. You go, you stay to the right of Flat Top Mountain, and then you go along the right side of Flat Top Mountain as you're looking at it. And back up in there is Rabbit Lake, which is nice as well. So I would recommend those two. They're not hard, but they can be a little bit moderate depending on how far you decide to go. I have, Brian. Up to a point, yes. Up to a point. So, Flight Path. Aldrin, you asked me, what are my 2 must-have upgrades for the Mavic 2 successor, i.e. the Mavic 3? Oh, good question. That's my favorite. Man, I hope the Mavic 3 comes out soon. I'm really wanting it. I would love it, like 6K resolution would be nice. Not because I care about 6K, but just to get better quality 4K. I would really like better quality 4K. Like the Mavic 2 Pro 4K was just a little bit less than the Phantom 4 Pro. And so I would like it to match or surpass the Phantom 4 Pro. So definitely like a 5.3, 5.7, or 6K sensor would be great. Which would be like 20 to 24 megapixel, well, it'd be 24 megapixel photos. And I would like a global mechanical shutter for photos. That would be really fantastic. Everything else I'm pretty happy with. I mean, a little bit longer flight time would be great. But everything else is like I like. I'd be happy with the way it is. But those two things, global shutter, global mechanical shutter for photos especially, and like better, higher quality 4K with the 10-bit color 422 would be incredible. It'd be so nice. So, yeah, do you know anything about the Mavic 3? I know you're on the in now with DJI, so I think I've got maybe 50,000 to 60,000 more subscribers until maybe DJI notices me or something. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. Let's see. I think I caught all those. Yeah, that's what I'm curious to see too, Aldrin, is the 1-inch sensor. The 1-inch sensor is great. It's definitely nice. And they could stay with the 1-inch sensor if they wanted to. That's fine. But definitely pushing the image quality to be more like, I mean, either that or they need to, yeah. I don't care about interchangeable lenses or anything like that. That would be cool. I don't see it happening. But having a better quality image sensor and better quality, like cinema 4K would be great. DCI 4K would be great. Thanks, Diana, for different ideas. What are you saying? Aldrin and I don't have the same ideas? We definitely don't have the same backdrop. I will say that. And he's able to get out there a little more than I am. Also, his is warmer. He's got a warmer environment. I want bonus points for going out in the cold. Let's see. So let's see. If I step out of Anchorage, you meant the post sucks once you get away from street delivery. Yeah, Liam, I know that's true. When I lived outside of Anchorage, that was true. In Anchorage, it's good, but outside of Anchorage, it's not so much. So, but hey, when I lived in a town that's 150 miles north of here, at that point, UPS and FedEx only delivered when they had a truck full. So it could go from and you had to pay for 2-day shipping for everything to Alaska at that point. Like nobody would ship anything other than 2-day air. And so you would pay for 2-day air, and then it would be you might get your package in 2 days, or it might be 10 days, depending on whenever that truck was full enough to drive it up to where I lived. And that drove me crazy, at least. Yeah, I don't either. I see. But I do see them I think 6K with a 1-inch sensor, I could see that, which would put us at 24 megapixel photos, which would be nice. I definitely see that happening because Autel's pushing that anyway. Depending on how they down-res it from 6K though, that's the thing that concerns me. If they do the line skipping, then you get the less quality. It'd be better to do a higher grade pixel binning type system to get really good, high quality 4K would be great. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking too, Lon. When I kind of looked at it the other day, I was like, but then I was trying to figure out why they have two levels. They've got the $139 and the $200 level. I don't understand that. Except the 200. I guess no, I do. Never mind, because I read it this morning. Yeah, so. Liam, back to AKVFX. Sounds good, man. He's in Southern Cali. Yeah, I know. And I gotta say, I'm a little jealous. This time of the year, especially whenever I see him posting, I'm like, come on. It's not fair. But it's nice. Actually, yeah. Aldrin, I'm gonna send you a DM on Instagram after this. I got a question for you that I just had a thought. Anyway, so Sergeant Gray, what do I think of the Mavic 3 price tag will be? I think it'll still be in like the $1,700 to $1,800 range. I don't think it's not going to be $1,500, but it'll be under $2,000, I think. But it'll probably be pushing $1,700 to $1,800 is my guess. Hey, John Burnett. Let's see. A little late. The FPV on another. Oh, John. So my take on the DJI FPV drone, which I do have one ordered because I'm not cool like Aldrin yet, and I didn't get one yet ahead of time. I look at it all. Can I just tell you how irritating it is that you see all these promo shots and they're flying these people out to like Iceland and all these other places, and I'm like, Sony does the same thing. They've brought people to Alaska several times now for their last two major camera releases, the A7S III and the A1, and it's like, oh, come on. Anyway, so my thought on the DJI FPV system, I've got one coming, is it's going to be a great drone if you've ever wanted to dabble into the cinematic FPV world, like those cruising, fast-moving, flowing, flying through sort of feel things. Maybe not as much for the acrobatic type stuff, like freestyle stuff. You can do it, but it's heavy and it's slow and you're going to crash it a lot. It's a little harder to fix. If you want to do the really crazy acrobatic stuff, then I would still say you need to get into building your own drone because you're going to fix it a lot. And the other FPV quads that like I've built and other people have built, they handle some incredibly hard hits. And you might have to replace one thing or another, but it's easy and you know it anyway. So I think it's going to be great for people who want to transition from GPS drones into more of that kind of cinematic FPV feeling type footage. I'm not super excited about the camera. It's not the best, but it's not bad. It's just, you got what it is. So yeah, that's what I think it is. Yeah, I'm excited about it too, though, because I think, and I said this earlier, it is going to push the entire FPV hobby forward. The fact that DJI is getting 9 minutes of, more aggressive flight time out of a 6S battery is going to make other people look at going, well, what can we do to improve things, which is good. The GPS return to home kind of features, I think we'll see some progress on that. And just overall, I'm excited to see that there's more innovation in that space, that it's going to push everybody else to innovate and do more a little bit more. So I saw you reply to me, Aldrin. So I'll send you a DM after this is done. I need one over here with my backdrop. I know, right? Like I've already scoped out where I'm going as soon as I get mine. Assuming the weather is good enough to go fly in those places, I know where I'm going to go to film my video about it and test it out. So anyway. Yeah. Let's see. Jim's droning. I don't think they're going to go smaller with the Mavic 3. I think at the very least it'll be the same size, but I think it'll be a tiny bit bigger because they're going to want to get more flight time out of it. Mavic sales will sink. I don't think they will, because it's still, even though the Mavic, the DJI FPV drone is kind of this crossover drone, it's still a different tool. And it's not going to replace a GPS drone. It doesn't have a 3-axis gimbal. So all of your like typical drone work is still going to be using the classic drone camera platform, with a camera with a drone attached. And the FPV drone is going to give you some other options, but it's different. And I think anybody's really serious about filming with an FPV drone is probably going to progress beyond it anyway, just because of the limitations of the camera. But we'll see. I think it's a good thing overall. Let's see. Paul Feinberg, you're getting the A7C set up for the first time? Yes! Awesome, buddy. I'm so glad, bro. Let's see. Yeah, I saw part of the iJustine one. I didn't see the Casey one. It's hard to watch some of the people, and I understand why DJI does it. It's not a knock on DJI at all, but it's hard to watch some of the people review drones when they're really not drone pilots. Like, they don't use drones a lot, because you're like, it's just like, anyway. But I understand why DJI sends those people drones, because they're massive influencers in the tech space and people that might be interested in getting a drone. Makes sense, but it's hard as a drone pilot to watch and go, come on. Paul, my green screen skills are on point, man. They are on point. I can make it look like it's snowing in front of me and behind me and all around me while I'm talking to a camera. It's all green screen. If you don't know what the green screen joke is about, you need to go watch my video about the Shark Slider Nano, this little slider over here, and you'll see what it's about. Basically, people have left comments saying I'm doing everything in front of a green screen. Serious comments, as far as I can tell. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Aldrin. It is not a Mavic, and it's not going to replace a Mavic. I kind of wish it did. Like, I wish they had put a 3-axis gimbal on there, but I understand why they couldn't, at least at this point. But yeah, I'm glad they carried over the safety features from the Mavic series into it. Really glad to see that. Brian Anderson asks, so the price on the A7 will go down since the A9 is out? No. The A7III has come down in price a little bit. They've been running a sale on it. It's probably because they're getting ready to release the A7 IV in the next few months. But the A9 is a different beast, very different camera from the A7 series. And the same thing with the A1. Like, the A7S is one thing. The A1 is a very different camera beast, and it's very, very different. Tesla FPV. That is a cool screen name. Very nice. Thanks, Bob Casey. Appreciate the support, man. Yeah, see, Brian Anderson, Paul Feinberg is right on the point. The A7 III price will drop down. It will drop down further once the A7 IV is released. It's dropped down a bit so far, but it won't drop down much more until the A7 IV is released, which hopefully is sometime in the next 3 months. Because I'm a single camera person, aside from this, but I don't use this for anything other than this and putting it on my big FPV drone. Other than that, I'm a single camera shooter right now, and man, I'm missing a second camera. Yeah. John Burnett, for the Sony FX3, is there a particular lens is best? Not a particular lens. I would start with something in the 24 to 70 range, because that's going to give you a lot of versatility to begin with. But yeah, any lens that works on an A7 III, A7S III, A9 will work on the FX3 perfectly. David, I am using Betaflight. The reason for that, I haven't messed with ArduFlight or ArduPilot much. I dabbled with it a tiny bit, but I I like the way Betaflight flies. Although now I want to try KISS because, well, yeah, just because. But yeah, I know Ardu Pilot has that, and I know iNav has something similar too, like a loiter mode. But I can't, at least I haven't dug far enough into Ardu Pilot yet to know whether I can do what I want to do with it in the acrobatics and stuff as much. Yeah, so that's it. Premiere Pro, Ben, is great for editing videos. I use Final Cut Pro because I'm on Mac, and it works really well on Mac. Premiere Pro works okay on Mac. But if you're on Windows, Premiere Pro is a great program to edit with. If you don't want to do the monthly subscription, though, but you want to buy something that has tons of features, a super powerful program, DaVinci Resolve. And DaVinci Resolve has a really good free version, too. So I would start with that. If you like it, once you learn it, then you can always upgrade. But there's no monthly cost, which I am not a proponent of. 300 for Care Refresh? No, because you're probably going to wreck it quite a few times, so you'd end up saving quite a bit of money there. Hey, Kelsey. With the Z6 II, Andre? Yes, you can. Great camera, solid visuals, very good. And you can get very good videos out of it. Very good photos, too. Yeah. Cameron, well, stay tuned and hold off just a few more days because I'll have some videos coming out about it shortly. Or go to Aldrin's channel and watch his because he's put out some great videos about it too. Aldrin is Flight Path, by the way, who is in the chat there, so you can always go over there. But he doesn't green screen all of his work in front of epic glaciers and mountain backdrops, so, you know, I don't know. I guess you can take that or leave it, but... Let's see. Vortex Labs. Considering FPV quads are more prone to accidents, you reckon that isn't too bad? Exactly, Vortex. Good night, Alaska Filmer. Have a good one. Stay safe, and hopefully you're getting ready for spring, because I am. Yeah, I saw that crash test video. It was pretty good. I see, Aldrin. Will do. Let's see. Okay. Hey, Matt PG. Good to see you. Resolve is great. Just so used to FCPX. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm used to FCPX. Good night, Diana. Have a great evening. Oh, the Northern Lights captures. Yes, I'm trying. There's supposed to be more in a couple days. I never thought it would be so hard to do the Northern Lights. Yeah, crazy. They have been sort of here and there, Brian Anderson. The Northern Lights have been like here and there. It just with my schedule and what I'm trying to do, and then also with weather where I am, it's been hard to line things up, to say the least. But there's supposed to be a pretty good showing here in the next 24 hours or so, I think. So. I will hopefully be going out then. And maybe Brian Peterson will be going with me. We'll see. I need somebody to go complain to as we go out and tromp through the cold at dark in the middle of the night. By the Mr. 37402. Thank you. Potato Soup. Thoughts of the FPV drone? Too broke to get it, but doing research on it anyway. I have one coming. I'll give you more cohesive thoughts in a few days once I have it and have tested it a bit. But I'm excited about it overall. If you've never done FPV before, I think it'll be a good thing to start with. But yeah, it's not for people who fly FPV a lot. Definitely not for them. It's for people who fly GPS drones and would like to get into FPV or some semblance of FPV. Anyway. Yeah, Jim Stroning. Aldrin, I wouldn't say he's a newbie. He's done some FPV stuff, but you know, FPV has not been his forte, or not been something he dove heavily into yet. He might now. And I appreciate those perspectives, because it helps me remember and think about it in a way of like, if somebody's coming to this, they've never done FPV before, me trying to remember like how to figure out beta flight and all the stuff you have to figure out when you jump on FPV. Just, yeah, it's a good perspective to keep in mind. Zach, you have very little chance of seeing him in May, just because it really doesn't get dark. It's very little darkness in May, so you'll have to stay up all night to see him though. I doubt it. Yeah. Let's see. It looks pretty cool, Steve-O Productions. Yeah, I'm excited to try it out and test it. So the thing that because I fly FPV, I built 15 FPV drones and repaired a lot of them a lot of times. So I went through the whole process of like figuring things out from scratch and watching tons of YouTube videos by people like Joshua Bardwell to try and figure out FPV. And I'm a reasonably competent FPV pilot. I'm by no means the world's most amazing pilot or anything like that, depending on what you want to do. And I mostly look at it from a cinematographer's perspective. I don't look at it from like I can do, X amount of tricks in 5 minutes. But what I'm most excited about the DJI FPV drone is if it has the range that a Mavic 2 Pro has and the signal quality that a Mavic 2 Pro has, but also the ability to get that fast flying, first person view footage, that with the safety of knowing that if something happens, it'll come back to me. That's really exciting. And that's primarily what I'm looking at using it for is being able to go into higher risky areas where if the drone didn't come back to me, there would be zero chance of recovering it if something happened, like I lost control link or video link or something like that. That's I think going to be really fun to try and use this drone for that, because it's solid. So Autopilot. Oh, interesting, David. I'll have to look into it, because I didn't look into it real recently. It's been a while. I'll have to look into it again and see. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. Ben Lockwood, quick. Paul Feinberg, you're out. See you, man. I'll see you on the other side. Let's see. Ben Lockwood, quick question about licenses for flying a drone. You got my hands on a Mavic Pro. Trying to get yourself an Air 2. Can I kind of through the setup? Also, some links might help. The setup? You mean settings? I have a Mavic Air 2 settings video that's on the channel. I'd have to find it. But, yeah. So for licenses wise, you need, if you're going to do commercial work, you have to get your Part 107. And I recommend Remote Pilot 101 for that if you're going to study. I mean, you can do it without it, but it's a little bit harder. Remote Pilot 101 makes it really easy to study. The good news is if you get your license now, by the time you have to renew it, you won't have to renew it as far as going to take another test. Like I've got to go take another test here in a couple months, but you won't have to do that because of the way they're changing the rules. For the drones, you do need to register them, but you don't have to register them as commercial vehicles until you're using them as commercial aircraft. Until then, you can just register as a hobbyist, and then you put that same number on any drone that you fly. So that's a good question, Alan. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they have the resources DJI has to be able to pour into an FPV market, but maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Call me Jon Snow. You know nothing of FPV drone flight, Matt FPG. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, Beeman FPV. You're exactly right, and that's a lot of what I'm thinking, because I've already had to go onto a glacier and recover a drone once, and I don't want to do that very often. So yeah, that's like, for the most part, I prefer my other FPV drones. I like them, But for doing some things, I think the DJI drone will be a good thing to try and use it for those things. But yeah, anyway. Release date for the FX3? No, not yet. I think it's sometime this month, though. I think it's toward the end of this month, John Burdett. Bob Casey shows some of the footage from Caterpillar. What can I show you from Caterpillar? Let's see. I can't show you anything from the most recent flight because I'm still under NDA on that. So, yeah, I have to dig through my phone to find the other stuff from last year. Thanks, B-Man. Have a good night. Cheers, man. Thanks for being here. Bob Casey. Yeah. You will, Sir Iceberg, very soon. Well, as soon as I can, anyway. But yes, it'll be zooming through the mountains and places. I scoped a bunch of places out that, assuming and hopefully the weather holds, and we have some decent weather when I get the drone, and I will be going out to shoot a video about it ASAP, because it's all about those clicks and those early search traffic and so on and so forth. But I really, I want to, you know, a lot of people are asking about it, and I want to put information out there to help people be able to decide if it's a good deal for them. It's not going to be for everybody, that's for sure. All of our icebergs, Sir Iceberg, right now, all of our icebergs are currently frozen in frozen lakes. Actually, you can see me sitting on one in the last video I posted today. But yeah, you'll see some icebergs. No, Mark H. They never actually proved it. Like, yeah, nothing was ever proven. So, John Burdett, you just got your Skydio 2, and you think you didn't keep paperwork to register it. What or where do you go to register the drone with Skydio? All you should need is your email that you bought the drone with and the serial number on the Skydio, which should be under the battery, where the battery attaches. It should be down in there. And then yeah, hopefully that's what you're asking. Sergio, yeah, it's definitely more fragile than a home-built FPV quad, that's for sure. What would be an awesome FPV drone to build? New to the drone community, but you don't want a step-up drone. You're looking to jump in. Well, okay, so Scott, to start out with, to learn to fly, I would buy something like the Beta FPV Meteor 65 kit. It's $200. You get goggles, controller. They're not worth much, but they work, and the drone, and a couple batteries. And you can start to learn to fly on something that's not going to cost you a lot of money. And then as you learn to fly from there, you can jump into other drones. Kit-wise, it's hard. I mean, there's so many options out there, but like iFlight makes some good ones. I use an Armatan one because they've got a really beefy frame, and but yeah, that's what I would do. And then you know, usually when you go and look at like a frame, like say you look at the iFlight DC5 or something like that, or the Sedora XL or whatever. You can look at like the store-bought version, and then you can get the other one. Honestly, I would buy a pre-made FPV drone after you've practiced and you're pretty good with the Beta FPV Meteor 65. I would buy a pre-bit like a Nazgul 5-inch or a Sedora 5-inch, and then just go from there. What's going to happen is you're going to learn to repair it as you break it, and so, but you can look and see what the pieces are and order replacements and then replace it. And so, yeah. Cinewhoop. Yeah, actually, Cinewhoop is great, David. That's a good point. I did see that lawn. I thought that too. I was like, oh, that's interesting. There are prop guards for it. Very interesting. Sergio, I don't know. I don't have one. I'm not important enough to have one sent to me or anything like that. But It's not for everybody. It's mostly for people who want to do the kind of cinematic FPV flying, cruising through, over trees, around lakes, woods, glaciers, and mountains. In my case, it's not really for hard acro or bando bashing. Not at all. But DJI, if you have DJI Refresh, according to DJI Refresh terms, you will get replacement drones and repairs the way you would a Mavic. So, yes, Nicholas, it can. Mavic Pro can capture good B-roll for cinematic aerial shots. If you can get a Mavic 2 or a Mavic 2 Zoom, Mavic 2 Pro or Mavic 2 Zoom, they're better image-wise, but yeah, it can. If you're looking at buying one, though, I would recommend the Mavic Air 2. That's where I would start if you want to get good cinematic aerial shots. I mean, even the Mini 2 is great compared to the original Mavic, but the original Mavic is good. Let's see. I have not, Sir Iceberg. I would like to go someday just to visit and see it, but I have never been there myself. Yeah, temptation. That's the downside. I don't understand that. But the higher up your camera angle goes, the less they're going to be in the shot. So I guess, you got to kind of figure out how you want to do that. And then putting an ND filter on it would definitely help to minimize what you see of the props. Because it will give it, they'll blur themselves out eventually. Nicholas, the Mavic is much cheaper, yeah, but honestly, actually, I would start with the Mini 2 or the Mavic Air. The image quality out of both of those drones is better than the original Mavic. If you're buying one today, I would start with the Mini 2. That's what I would do. The Mini 2 is going to have better image quality than the original Mavic Pro. And the Mavic Air will do better. Sergio, if you buy it and you crash a drone, depending on which Mavic or DJI Care package you get, then you get replacement drones, or you get replacement at, you pay $200 and you get a replacement, something like that. It's sort of like if you do the GoPro plan, you send the GoPro in, you pay whatever it is, $50 or $75, and you get a new GoPro out of it. Yes, David Cusada. Oh my gosh, I'll get your name right one of these days. Armatan does have great warranty on their frames. But yeah, for anybody who wants to, if you want to jump into FPV, like jump in head first and learn everything there is to know about it, definitely check out Joshua Bardwell's channel on YouTube, because he's the master of like detail and walking you through. And he's got lots of playlists that are like right through there. Ben Lockwood, it's $150 to take the Part 107 test. Yes. And it's $150 for every time you take it, which means if you fail the first time, you have to pay another $150 and take the test again. That's why I tell people, like, do your homework, study hard. If you don't want to have to go out and find all the info you need, then, and it's out there, but if you don't want to go digging for it, then do something like Remote Pilot 101. Wait, what? Igor, you're saying off topic. It's not really off topic. This is a Q&A and chatting about whatever you want to talk about. Viewer, I have to come up with something on that. Anyway, use the tips on light setup in the studio for your job interview, which is pushed to the third round. Everyone is impressed with the setup. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, man. And congrats. I hope you get that. You're applying for a job? Is that right? Because if that's the case, then good luck. I hope you get it. You love your Mavic Mini? Mavic Mini is great. Scott Willis, there are no rumors as far as the Air 3 won't be out for another year and a half or 2 years at the soonest. The next drone that'll probably come out is the Mavic 3 Pro series, probably. So, yeah. Mark H, Remote Pilot 101 definitely is good. Nicholas. So for depth of field, like the blurry background you see behind me, what you want is a lower or a bigger aperture. So you want a lower f-stop number. So like an f1.4, this is f1.4. Now, if I, let's see, put this in auto mode, and if I go like this, so see how everything now behind me is now in focus? That's because it's at f16. So if you want depth of field, you want to go with a lower aperture number. So if you have vintage lenses, look at where it says it'll have a little F and then a number by it. And the lower that number is, the more blurry background you're going to get. Maxim, how do I choose which ND filter? I set the shutter speed for the frame rate I'm shooting, which is like, if I'm shooting 30 frames a second, then I set it 1/60. And I set the ISO as low as it will go, usually around 100. And then I put an ND filter on there till I get the exposure I want. And then I'll give the ISO a range of like 100 to 400 that it will operate in. So that's how I do it. John Burnett. You cannot right now unless you are moving to live for a job or something like that, because Canada has they've closed their borders still. So you can't just drive up here right now, unfortunately. Sergio, how good is the camera of the DJI FPV drone compared to the Mavics? It's not great. It's very much along line of like the Osmo Action camera. So it's not the best. It's limited dynamic range and it's okay, but yeah. North of 54 cinematography. The thoughts on the Mavic Zoom with the ability to zoom is a feature really used a lot. Not super a lot. But it's a good zoom. Like it works. It does what it's supposed to. But yeah. Nobody knows, Chetan, when the Mavic 3 Pro will be released. Who knows? Sometime this year, hopefully. Just got a Sigma 24 f1.4. Canon 90D, couldn't be more happy with the purchase. Yeah, this is a 24 1.4. Beautiful lenses. Absolutely great. I love it. So Nicholas, cinematic is more what you do with the lens. It's not necessarily the lens at all. It's just how you use it, the lighting, the angles, everything is what makes it cinematic, not the actual lens. So I have not, Zay. What is that? I'm gonna have to look that up now that you mentioned it. Nice channel, by the way. Yeah, the anamorphic lens gives a more cinematic look. That's true. It's yeah. So Zay, what are you talking about? The Segunda? Do you mean the FPV drone? Because if you're talking about the FPV drone, I'm working on getting one so that I can do a breakdown and review of it and test it and in general have fun with it. Because I like flying FPV. I have lots of FPV drones. I'm curious what they've done with it. Ben, my opinions haven't changed on the Mavic Air 2 or the Mini 2. If you're jumping into your first drone purchase and you wanted to have a good in-between drone that'll do a little bit of everything, then the Mavic Air 2 is great. If you just want a fairly inexpensive drone that'll capture great footage, super small, the Mavic Mini 2 is great too. So, Mark H., how are the drone tutorials? Like the drone course, the Drone Academy thing that I'm working on? It's going much slower than I would like. On the other hand, I'm kind of glad because now DJI released the FPV drone. I was including a piece, whatever you would call it, like a section in there about cinematic FPV stuff, and now it's there will definitely be in there a bigger portion of it, a bigger unit of it will be with the FPV cinematic stuff. Now DJI released that, so they are going. I am shooting to have it done this month. We'll see. Anyway. Holy crap, it's 5:15 already. I'm going to have to wrap this up. No, Moshi, there is no GoPro mount for this drone. John, I wish. That'd be cool. Oh, man. Andre, what were the top 3 video cameras you highly recommend for a beginner? Considering you don't want to use it. I don't use an external recorder either. If you have the budget, the A7S3, absolutely. The most killer mirrorless video camera right now. If you don't have the budget for the A7S3, then look at the A7C. Is a great video camera as well. Or the A7III is a great video camera as well. Kind of another one that's in that same price range, but a little bit different, is the Canon R6 is good, but it has a lot of limits on how much it can record. But the Canon R6 is a good one too. Sergio, typical freestyle drone gives you better results than the new DJI FPV drone. Yes, because GoPro still has a little bit better image quality. Yeah. Mark H, yes, you can still fly into and out of Alaska. In fact, Alaska mandates for like testing at the airport all recently stopped. So you can fly in and out, no problem. And I was in Chicago the end of January to do some work down there for Caterpillar again. And yeah, I missed all the big ice storms and snowstorms and freezing cold that they had there. Not too sorry about that. I came back to my own snow and ice storms up here, but and freezing cold. So I did lawn. I saw the new 360 camera from Insta360, or the new camera from Insta360. It looks interesting, tiny. Moshi, we will see. As soon as I get it and test it, I'll let you know. But probably, yeah. Do I ski? I have, Sergeant Gray, but I haven't in a while. So, but I do want to go film some people skiing or snowboarding or something. So let's see how that works. Nicholas, how do I handle color grading? Is color grading something I do for my live broadcast? I try and get everything in the camera set the way it's going to be in the end so that I don't have to do a lot of color grading because I don't like color grading. Yeah, I just don't. Igor, recommendation, first mirrorless camera mainly for photography up to 2.5K. Oof. I would get the A7 III or wait a few months because they'll probably release the A7 IV pretty soon. And that'll give you a little bit of leeway to get some good lenses for it too. The Nikon Z6 Mark II is a good one for photography as well. It's in that same price range. And I mean, you could probably get an A7R III, which is more megapixels than the A7 III, but the problem there is the autofocus system is a little older, and well, that should be good. It's about the same as the A7 III, so you could probably get the A7R III for that same price, but you wouldn't be able to get many lenses. So I would go with like the A7 III or the A7C even, and get a couple of Tamron lenses for it. You'd be set up and ready to go. John, hopefully you have that opportunity soon. So, Mark H, Insta360 One X2 is the good one to get. Yeah, that's the 360 camera I would get if I was going to get one right now. I like that camera a lot. So, Moshi, hold on just a little bit because I'll have some videos for you in a few days about it. So, that's what I think so too, Brian. 2022, because Canada doesn't seem keen to do anything. It'd be bigger hikes than Michigan, that's for sure. So, All right, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for being part of the stream, for part of the community, part of the channel. I appreciate it. The next few videos you see will probably be about the DJI FPV drone. Doesn't mean I'm not working with other cameras and doing other stuff. It's just that's what's in front of us, in front of me now. And that's what everybody wants to know about, the search traffic, all of that. So not going to lie, I do go after it from that standpoint because it helps to expose my channel to other people. Anyway, great to hang out with you all tonight. I'll be here same time, same place next week for more questions and answers. Until then, stay safe, be smart, and yeah, I'll see you again soon in the next video. Cheers.